The Tinubu forces have corrupted Yoruba land so much that Yorubas now admire the crooked and chastise the righteous.
Tonight I think of my home, the home where I was born. I think of my family and the poor farmhouse we had.
Yes, I think of my home, the home where I was born. But sadly and shamefully, the home where I was born, it's not the home it was when I left at 19 years old. My classmates at CMS Grammar School, Lagos, were Yoruba people that I admired. Yoruba people who I thought stood for the truth. The Yorubas of Afe Babalola. The new Yorubas I see today, and pardon me, not all Yorubas, but the ones who have influence, the ones who seem to control everything in Yoruba land today, seem to be the ones who achieved what they have because they were crooked, because they bent the rules. And shamefully, while they bend the rules, they go around the world acting like they are the righteous of our land. Today there is a case going on between a man called Afe Babalola, man I never heard of before this case, but he's a very powerful man and a very wealthy man, probably the wealthiest man in Ekiti State. But unlike typical wealthy people around the world who earned their money the old-fashioned way, who respect themselves, what we have here is a man who wants to use his money to control his environment and shut everybody up. Afe Babalola donated £10 million to King's College London. And the main reason for that donation is to support activities that have to defend human rights. But in Nigeria, especially in Ekiti State, Afe Babalola wants to subdue human rights. That's the Nigeria we live in. And shamefully, the sentiment coming from a lot of Yorubas, not all of them, is they want to be mum and pretend they don't see the evil going on, or they want to criticize the righteous among them that believe in equity, not equity for Yorubas, but equity for Nigerians, including Yorubas. That's the Nigeria we live in today. That's the new face of Yorubas in Nigeria. And to that, today I ask, will the real Yorubas please rise and defend Dele Farotimi? Hello everybody. Once again, this is Fred Wankwa coming to you from our studios in Chicago with another edition of Bold Talk on Allen TV. And as usual, I like to say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you, depending on where you are around the world. I start out again preaching because I keep coming back with the same thing, and I will keep coming back to it until Nigerians listen. It takes a long time to destroy a system. And as I always say, Igbo say that naroro anagba for Robenala. It equally takes a long time for voices like mine and Dele Farotimi and Rufayo Seni and Mayegun and Ayoade Adamolekun and Aisha Yesufu and Kenneth Okonkwo, voices like that, it takes a long time for them to take hold and replace the crooked voices that people have come to accept as the normal way of doing things. That's why when people like myself come out with my show, many people who it gets to are like, there he goes again. But I'm saying, there I come again. But I come with facts. And it pays you to listen to my facts and the shame that is going on in Yoruba leadership today. The atrocities that are going on in Nigeria, especially the atrocities that are going on in Nigeria under the Tinubu forces in Nigeria, whoever they may be, took so long to take hold that when voices like mine start coming up with counter arguments, with facts about the deficiencies of the Tinubu mentality in Nigeria, and it's not limited to Yoruba land. The time will come to address others. Today we're dealing with the hypocrisy and atrocities of the Tinubu forces in Nigeria stemming from Yoruba land and what they have come to accept as tradition. The Tinubu forces and their cronies and their way of doing things the crooked way over a 24-year period especially has taken hold so much in Yoruba land that Yorubas seem to accept this as a way of life. Look at what he has done to our hero, my hero, Wole Soyinka. Wole Soyinka has been reduced to an errand boy for Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and more will be exposed. This is not the Yoruba people that are new. This is not the Yoruba people that Chief Obafemi Awolowo cultivated. And I must keep talking about it. If you don't like it, delete or shut it off. But for those of you who like it, it'll be a shame if you don't share it and like it and subscribe to this channel. The Tinubu forces have corrupted Yoruba land so much that Yorubas now admire the crooked and chastise the righteous. Dele Farotimi wrote a book in which he challenged Afe Babalola to take him to court if the facts in the book are not true. Instead of going through the normal channel of getting Dele Farotimi to court to argue this case open to the world, Afe Babalola and whoever his cronies are on top decided to abduct Dele Farotimi, did a kangaroo court in Ekiti, remanded him in prison without giving him bail, and are doing all kinds of things to intimidate him. Let me play a short, very short soundbite from a very wealthy American, a billionaire, and his advice to wealthy people on how to deal with stories that they think defames them, regardless of whether it's right or wrong. Listen to a man who knows better.
A small publication that came to me some years ago carried the following, quote, "Once a man who had been slandered by a newspaper came to Edward Everett Hale asking what to do about it. Said Hale, 'Do nothing. Half the people who bought the paper never saw the article. Half of those who saw it did not read it. Half of those who read it did not understand it. Half of those who understood it did not believe it. Half of those who believed it are of no account anyway.'" So many of us make a great fuss of matters of small consequence. We are so easily offended.
That advice is so pertinent to this situation between Dele Farotimi and Afe Babalola, that because Afe Babalola put his tomfoolery in action, the snowball effect is that a book that's been out for at least 4 months, and the bookstores were selling 3 copies a day and 6 copies a day, in the last 72 hours has sold out on Amazon and has become the #1 selling political book on Amazon, with over 80,000 copies sold. And the beauty here is that Dele Farotimi, not after what's going on, so people say he's trying to get attention. When the book was published, Dele Farotimi instructed that all proceeds from the book go to an orphanage in Nigeria to help maintain the kids. So the man that many Yorubas want to throw out with the bathwater is going to end up probably as popular when it's all said and done, and when he's dead and gone, probably as popular as only Chief Obafemi Awolowo in Yoruba land. Mark it down for all those Dele Farotimi haters, especially Dele Farotimi haters in Yoruba land. Mark it down. Dele Farotimi may end up as one of the greatest Yorubas and one of the greatest Nigerians and one of the greatest African human rights fighters that ever lived, simply because of the tomfoolery of a man called Afe Babalola. Human rights activist Deji has become one of my favorites in Nigeria. Unfortunately, his name just doesn't pop when I start running off my favorites like Dele Farotimi, Aisha Yesufu, Rufai Oseni, Yemi Adamolekun, but I really respect Deji Adeyanju a lot. There's only one thing that Deji does that really irks me. And it's nothing against him because it's their culture. This nonsense about, at this press conference that I'm showing here, I couldn't get the sound bites. He's talking about Afe Babalola's disgusting use of Nigerian police at will to go and arrest his enemies. And Deji is fully in support of Dele Farotimi. Of course, that's the kind of person Deji is. But one of the biggest problems in Yoruba land, and I'm not going to tell you how to run your culture, one of the biggest problems in Africa, but in Yoruba land especially, is this crap about respect of elders. Deji is criticizing Afe Babalola, but he's always saying it so respectfully to the elder. To hell with elders. An elder who abuses other human beings' human rights should not be treated like an elder. He should be treated like poop, like filth. Bola Ahmed Tinubu is an elder, but he's grossly corrupt and he's a drug lord. Afe Babalola is very wealthy, but he acquired his wealth and he acquired his prestige in Nigeria's legal circles by acting outside the rules that other lawyers that are doing the right things follow. And many of these sons we have in Nigeria, it's time for us to really start scrutinizing those credentials that made them sons. Many of these sons are crooks. The former Chief Justice of Nigeria was a son. Which crook is more crooked than that ugly man that used to be a Chief Justice? Afe Babalola is crooked. And what Dele Farotimi did for Nigerians and the world is to start to try to unravel the credentials that made these crooks the pinnacle, the flower of our justice system, until Dele Farotimi came out with his book. When people who knew Afe Babalola talked about him, they talk about him as this angelic lawyer that is the epitome of the legal profession in Nigeria and the picture of humanitarian giving, who gave money to King's College London to establish a fund to fight human rights abuse. But in Nigeria, Afe Babalola is destroying human rights of Nigerian citizens. And if we don't bring these things and throw it in people's faces, this is not going to stop. I'm ashamed to say that a people I respect so much, which is Yoruba people, in the last 24 years, especially, but probably even before that, have spent so much time idolizing crooks as their faces of leadership and power in Nigeria, while the best Yorubas that are humble and hardworking are relegated to the back seats. And if they open their mouths like Dele Farotimi did and say the truth, Yorubas come after them and chastise them. Half of Yorubas can't stand Rufai Oseni when he says his truth on Channels TV. Half of Yorubas can't stand Yemi Adamolekun when she sits down on any of the TV stations in Nigeria and states her facts about abuse of human rights Nigerian rights. Yorubas, the Yoruba bigots, only like when you talk about Yoruba human rights. But the human rights of other Nigerians, whether it's Peter Obi winning the last election and being denied, those don't count to Yoruba bigots. Whether it's Dele Farotimi coming out to tell the truth about the filth in the Nigerian justice system, the Yoruba bigots don't like that. What they like is to hail crooks who spread money across to them and bribe them and have them working for them and running their dirt and feeding us distorted news and distorted journalism. And they pay Bayo Ononuga and Dele Alake at the highest level of pay in Nigeria so they could run around distorting news in Nigeria and humiliating good Nigerians while they celebrate the Afe Babalolas and the Bola Ahmed Tinubus of Yoruba land. Shame on Yoruba bigots. Shame on any Yoruba person that stands up to talk crap about Dele Farotimi. Shame on any Yoruba person that talks crap about Deji Adeyanju or Rufai Oseni or Aisha Yesufu. No, she's not Yoruba, but she's talking. Shame on you. And shame on all the Nigerians who know that this is wrong, but seem to say nothing because to them, it's not their business. I had a stupid Igbo man inbox me to tell me that I should leave Dele Farotimi's problem to be solved by his Yoruba people. His Yoruba people are Nigerians. Dele Farotimi is fighting for equity in Nigeria. And to hell with any Igbo person who feels that Dele Farotimi's problem is a Yoruba problem. Dele Farotimi's problem is a Nigerian problem. And righteous, upstanding Nigerians must stand up and fight for our flag bearer, Dele Farotimi. Ladies and gentlemen, I will be back again. Once again, this is Fred Nwankwo coming to you from our studios in Chicago with another edition of Bull Talk on Island TV. And until next time, good night and God bless.
Tonight I think of my home, the home where I was born. I think of my family and the poor farmhouse we had. There in my home, we had no sophistication. We had no timepiece, the cockcrow and the sun, all we had. Rise early at sunup, we'd go to the farms, drive the monkeys away from the maize farms, and the birds away from the rice farms. Come back home at sundown,